Guys, Rob from Georgia here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe. And here we go, man. Episode 22 already. We are closing in on the end of year one. And so what we have here today is Mission of the Darians, first released on October 30th, 1975. I was but 5 years old, man. Jaws, I mean, come on, Jaws is hitting the big screens, and as a small little tyke man, even at 5, I'm already being influenced by film and compliments of my own parents, I guess, who allowed this stuff to seep in, some of it, which, right? I'm thinking too, Space 1999. I had Eagle 1. I had that toy. So this show, I know, influenced me, and especially probably it's more Twilight Zone, Outer Limits, sort of reflectiveness, I guess, as what really I gravitate to. Even though I think The Empire Strikes Back is one of the greatest films ever made, and I think The Wrath of Khan is one of the greatest films ever made. One of the great series, though, is the one tucked in between the two, and that is, of course, thinking of the old Star Treks, and then, of course, Star Wars in '77 is Space 1999, which does not get enough talk. So here we go, man. This is an interesting episode. Mission of the Darians. Their mission is this is a floating city, a colossus of a city. And I'm going to tell you, the miniatures in here, this city is, out of this world. When you really look at this, you can see how these guys will go on to do the work they will do. I'm just thinking The Empire Strikes Back. Some of these guys from Space 1999, Johnson and the others. And so they, of course, this floating city grows close to our wandering moon. And so there is a distress signal, and the Moonbase Alpha picks up on the distress signal, and Koenig decides the right thing is to get a team together and go check it out. Now, you think a distress signal, we are filmed in '74, it releases in '75 on TV. And so we think of how Alien will use this in '79. And then there is also, as the Eagle, the party that goes to this city to investigate this distress signal and see if there's anything they can do to help. Basically, the signal is that this civilization is about to be done. There is a horrible accident, and involves nuclear radiation of some level. And so what they don't realize when they pick up on the distress signal is the distress signal's been out there forever. It's almost kind of like Alien in a way, because you get that scene with Ripley where she starts to pick up on, this might be in the extended cut of it, where she starts to pick up on that it might be a warning and not so much a distress, a warning to stay away. And of course, our favorite antagonist in there says, well, a little late now, isn't it? Ian Holmes' character there, I can't think of his stupid name. Anyways, my mind today is just... So anyway, so you get that, and then as the Eagle is approaching the city, it's pulled in by a tractor beam. Of course, Star Wars will make great use of that in A New Hope, right? The use of a tractor beam, kind of concepts, ideas. So anyways, get into this. So they get in there, right? And the two parties split up. One goes one way, one goes the other way. And what we find out very quick is this city has just been sort of on this 900,000-year mission to find a home. They're carrying what is left over, the genetic makeup of their civilization, hoping to find a planet and hoping to give rebirth to their civilization. The problem is they have they run out of resources, have no resources, and so there's only when the apocalypse happens to this planet, to these people, there's only 14 of them that are completely safe from the radiation effect and whatnot. So they sort of take over the situation real quickly. And those who have been struck but survived the mutated effects have been left to basically evolve into another kind of society on this ship, in which the minority members are sort of manipulating them to think that they're really not even on a ship. I would imagine they're just living in their society, and so they fabricate for them the idea of a god, the idea of just the rules and bends of society as being dictated down. But these people have no idea where all this is coming from. They live in a totally different world than what is reality, which is really kind of an interesting concept here in this. But what is really brilliant is this disturbing when Koenig and Victor, of course, they will wander into the upper part of this, the manipulative side, and they'll begin over time to understand what is happening here. Helena and the other guy that goes with her, no name, right? Which you know what's going to happen to him. They wander into the other side, the lower caste, and so they really quickly begin to figure out there is something really disturbing going on here. And then of course Paul and Alan will come to the rescue of Helena they find out that part of what's going on is okay. So I'm just gonna lay it out there. It's a huge spoiler if you've never seen this. Just stop, get out. The only way that these few can remain alive on their continuing voyage to find a new home is if they replenish or create a new food source. The new food source becomes those mutated affected people who are conned into believing that they must sacrifice their mutants and put them in this disintegrative chamber, which then the computer uses it into the food supply so that the others can stay alive. It is so bizarre. And then if that's not enough, they ask that every so often a perfect member gets offered up to the representative of the gods. The god himself is Neiman, who actually is the captain of the ship or whatnot. And his wife, who's played by Joan Collins, who really takes center stage here in much of the show. She is really fun to watch. I'm not the biggest Joan Collins. I mean, in terms of like, not that I'm not a fan. I'm not well knowledged on her and her work. So this was really fun to kind of watch her really work, because I don't watch a lot of Joan Collins stuff, or I haven't seen a lot of Joan Collins stuff. And so her and Koenig kind of go back and forth a lot, right? But Helena, well, unfortunately, Helena and her companion wander into this just as they're basically doing their sacrifices, their rituals and stuff. And Helena, because she's, nothing's wrong with her, she's going to be handed off to those who come and represent Neiman. I know this sounds so freaking, I'm making it sound more complicated than it is. I'm just going to kind of, so you have two halves of the story, right? You have Helena's adventure and Koenig's side, and then of course Paul and Alan will come to her rescue. They will intervene right at the right time, and what Paul ends up with purpose and intent, I think, and somewhat inadvertent, he will begin a revolution of that lower caste that ultimately will collide with those few minority, and it races towards an end that is pretty epic. It is its scope, its story, what is happening. I thought this show was brilliantly done. Just enough time given to each part of the story that is unfolding and how they all intersect towards the very end. And ultimately the resolution of the finality of what happens, and Koenig and Helena and Victor and Paul and Alan and their ability to escape this madness. But they seem to, at other times in the show, even if it's not showed directly, and it seems like they might have left something tattered, something messed up and destroyed. Here is where they might have taken a really horrific situation and they might have inverted it to its better side and set this city continuing to move on, but now maybe struggling to do things in a better way. It's interesting, right? But I was gonna say, I can't forget this. Golly, I'm gonna forget it. Shoot, I can't believe it. I forgot it. Maybe it'll come to me as I close this thing out. There was something specific I wanted to mention. For research, Anyways, so I loved it, and we're closing out. We only got a few left. Dragon's Domain is next, and really just a couple episodes, and we will be out of year one, heading Oh, I got it. It came to me. Okay, so early on, as Koenig and Neiman, at least the human representative of Neiman, the true Neiman, who is to the lower caste represented as a god, they only know him as a figure in terms of a god. But Neiman, when you learn just more about him, Koenig, out of the discussion between those two are happening, Neiman mentions the fact that, and it's, you don't get this very much, and I brought this up before in the past, in past reviews, you don't get this a whole lot, but the point is made that from Neiman to Koenig that you probably ought to take our deal, because they want Koenig, and of course we've seen this before, right, to join up with them. Of course, this is before Koenig understands the totality of what is happening here. But the point is made that Earth, at least as they knew it, Earth may just be gone, and they might, in fact, Koenig and them at Moonbase Alpha may be the last relic of an old civilization that is now dead and gone. And I found that little snippet of conversation fascinating, because we don't get this near enough, this idea of, well, what is happening back on Earth right now? And I have no idea going into year 2 if that is fleshed out at all, that if we ever find out, I don't know. It'll be a surprise to me. But this is a part of the story that always intrigues me, is what is going on Earth? And it's always somewhere in the back burner somewhere. But this particular episode, they actually touch on a little bit, at least theoretically or philosophically, whatever, theologically, whatever you want. It's touched upon, which is really, really super cool. So anyways, here at episode 22, winding down to the very end, this is a brilliant, directed by Ray Austin, brilliant episode. This guy had a huge run on TV, including the Hardy Boys, which I grew up with. He had a few episodes in there, Simon and Simon, and The Old Adventures from '68, British show. Just good stuff, man. Just good stuff. And it really is a show that you could tell people probably looked back on as they took certain concepts and moved it in other things they were doing. So, Mission of the Darians, or Darians, D-A-R, yeah, Darians, is quite a brilliant entry in here as we move towards the very end of this episode, or this year, right? So, anyways, thank you for the support. Thank you for the views. Thank you for the comments that I do get. Thank you. And I really looking forward to just, wrapping up the finality of year 1 and moving on into year 2. And yeah, looking forward to that. As always, man, we always end these things off with Go Bills.